Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Today is December the 13th. It's also day 3,609 days in a row for me for doing art. Today we're going to be working on color with this landscape you see here. And yesterday, when I finished the live stream yesterday, I had this plan for the way I was going to work up color. Well, not anymore. As I had some time to think about it throughout the day yesterday, I was trying to work up, or I was wanting to work up the color on this landscape, similar to how a lot of other digital artists work up color in their paintings. But I really don't want to do that. Actually, what I want to do is work the color how I would in my own oil paintings, and kind of play around with that idea. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm going through some paintings by Albert Bierstadt, and I'm pulling some down because I like to pull some color from some of them. So you'll see some of these appear on the screen. Okay. Trying to get the real size on that one. Actually, I could do this while you're watching. It doesn't have to be on the other screen. I have a collection of a lot of his paintings. I'm looking at sky colors. Oof, those clouds are fantastic. I'm also looking at the sky that would be around the same time period for my painting, so early morning, late, afternoon, so sunrise or sunset, one of those two. That one's really nice. That's actually really nice as well. I don't want to sit here and pull out too much. I'll get overwhelmed, so that should be enough. Okay. So let's do this. I actually need to clean up all of the reference that I have in here and chop it down to only the ones that I want to keep right now. So not that one, no. This is one of those things that I should probably do off the stream, but here I am. Okay, I can remove all these. And that one, and that one, and that one. All were super helpful with what I was working with. Now I don't need them. That's really pretty. This is super orange, super bright. Doesn't really have the blue that I liked within the other ones. I like the purple of these clouds. I might pull some of that out. And I won't keep that one. Okay, I got my reference. Now it's time to pick my brush. There was a brush pack that I got for Krita by GD Quest. I don't know what GD Quest is. I think they make some kind of games or something. But anyway, they have a really cool brush pack. Look at all these brushes. And it was this one here, I believe, that I really liked because I like the shape of it. I like that it turns. Hopefully you can see that. I like that it turns when I'm using it. So it's this guy, got this kind of fluid shape, and it also has, you know, if I'm pressing super light, I can get some really light tones in there. And then if I press really hard, I can get a hard tone. So I actually like that. I'm gonna favorite this for right now. And you know, I don't think you can do this in Photoshop. You have to get an extra plugin to have this, like, these really cool, this really cool ability within, you know, your brushes. A cloud brush. This is for like very cartoony clouds. Don't like that at all. That's a nice chalky brush. Oh, this is like a wet brush, more of a blender, it looks like. Just go through a couple more of these. That's a nice chalky brush as well. Oh, a really cool flat ellipse that blends. That's pretty nice. I'm gonna throw that in there as well. But yeah, in Photoshop you can't do this. I don't think you can favorite brushes and have this. You have to get. Maybe there's a separate plugin where you can do it, but I haven't seen it, you know? Actually, what was the shape of this brush? Just basic circle. Never mind. This one's really odd. I don't know what's going on with this brush. Can make some really cool textures, I bet, but I don't know how to use that one. That's the one I've already got. Then I have these really strange one. It has a strange icon on it. I don't know what it's supposed to do, but it just seems like a basic brush for those. Very cartoony rocks. I believe this GD Quest brush pack, they do a lot of cartoony things. But you know what? It could work for a lot of things I'm trying to do. I do like this blender brush here. This was actually a lot of fun to work with. I have another painting that I'm not showing right now that I'm working on digitally, that I'm going to be starting painting on, because it was just, you know, like a digital mock-up, and I'm going to be painting on it soon. That was nice. I mean, it's got kind of a canvas texture behind it. Very cool. And I like this brush for clouds. It takes forever for it to really build up. It's funny. I mean, I have a beefy computer, and this thing is like really churning on it. Oh, that's pretty cool too. All right, let's throw that in our favorite for right now as well. And then I can go back to my favorites, and there's the brushes. Yay. All right, but I'm going to be working with this one. I was thinking about this because, yeah, let me show you something here. Now, I've been working with digital art for months now, not years. That's why I'm still very new at it. But I log what I do every single day. Like I said, today is 3609. I still have to log, you know, 3 or 4 days. But if I scroll back in time and look at what I was working on, I really enjoyed this way of working. So there's this movie I really liked a lot about Van Gogh called At Eternity's Gate with, oh man, I forget this actor's name. And I really want to zoom in on this. Man, I should make sure that I change up my website so you can actually zoom in on these paintings. And sorry, I'm pouring some tea if you can hear that. Gotta have my hot tea or hot beverage, especially at 3 o'clock in the morning, right? Okay, but the way I was working this painting was, how I would work my painting in oil. Yeah, I want to see that larger. Well, I guess I could just do this. Hopefully you can see kind of the detail that's going on there. Lots of strokes, just really textural in the whole way. Very kind of glazed, stroke over stroke over stroke. So I really enjoy that way of working. If you look at any painting by Andrew Wyeth, I love Andrew Wyeth, and I love his portraits. Let me see if I can find one that I'm looking for. Let me see. Tools, size, large. Maybe we can see it in this piece. I'm more looking at this piece here. This is the cover of a book I have. Oops. Go away. Here, let's do this. Here's some little tricks if you... Oh, well, that's just tiny. That's just a tiny image. You're not going to be able to see it with that. That's the problem with looking at images online. I bet you I have a bunch of Andrew Wyeth images in here. I got NC Wyeth here. Let's do a search. W-Y-E-T-H. I was spending time on this because I think it's important that you see it for whoever's watching. Because there's a tendency for all artists to kind of get stuck in a similar modality with one or two artists, or artists that are, oh, I'm a digital artist, so I want to look at digital artists. And that's just not conducive for really finding your style, okay, and experimentation. And broadening your artistic abilities. Let me see if I can get this image. It's WebP. Anyway, I think I would have to have just a super high quality photo of this image here, but Andrew Wyeth worked with really tiny brushes. This is egg tempera, and if you know anything about egg tempera, I worked with egg tempera for a bit before I just gave it up because it's just so arduous of a medium. It's very dry, and it's worked up in like a ton of layers. But the layers on his paintings are worked up in really tiny strokes, so overlapping of just, a million strokes of colored little strokes, basically like a crosshatch of color. And the breadth that it gives, the life that it gives to each of these paintings is amazing. I mean, there's a lot of things he does that is not very detailed, it's washy or whatever. A lot of his best paintings that I've seen, Christina's World is probably his most famous. Well, it is his most famous, but all of this grass is worked up in those strokes, which is really interesting. Yeah. Got all the ads showing up on my screen. So there you go. Maybe help some people with some ad revenue. Maybe this one's larger. This is a portrait of his wife. That's actually pretty good. And you really can't see it. But anyway, probably the most important thing about, to know about Andrew Wyeth is he was an amazing draftsman. He could draw like just no one else, just amazing. All right, let me get down to my color layer. There we are. And I want to work this up back to front. So let's do this. I'm just going to play, honestly. Going to have some fun and play around. Let's start with this color back here. It's interesting when I'm selecting these colors, you would think this would be kind of a blue. But then if you look at the color wheel over there, it's a yellow down here at the bottom. It doesn't even get into blue. As I go up, then we're getting into blue, kind of greenish colors and everything. It's really interesting. But I'm going to work this like I would any painting. Yeah. And I think also what I'm going to do is take my drawing and value group and I'm going to fade it out really far. And even when I paint in oil, I always work everything up in on gray. Sorry, my brain is like taking some time to catch up with my mouth this morning. So this way of working is, honestly, not the most spectacular thing to watch, I would guess. It's probably something suited better for a time lapse. Or a speed painting, as they call them now. Or maybe those are two different things. I think they're the same, because I always see speed painting, and it's a video of someone working, doing a time lapse with their artwork. So I can probably make this brush a little bit bigger. That's an interesting green color. So what I'm doing is, I'm just kind of slowly glazing in some color here. And I'm pulling from this painting, you see below, these kind of colors. And I'm working it in an angle that is close to, what I would think would be the angle of the sky, which is kind of this horizontal. I mean, I could make all these vertical strokes, but I don't think that would be conducive for the form of the sky. Probably when I get up here, it's going to get more blue. Maybe a bit larger strokes up here. I'm getting a bit impatient myself with this. I wonder if this is picking up some of the gray in the background, because it seems like the colors are being adjusted as I put them down. Let's see. Oh, it is picking up some of the gray in the background. Okay, let's do this. Let's go back to my brushes. I'm gonna get, actually this one I created a while ago. I'm gonna put it back in favorites. I might use that one, but I'm gonna try a different one as well. One that isn't wet. See, the one thing I dislike is, you know, this is what happens with acrylic paint. When you're painting an acrylic, because it dries so quickly, and if you're trying to work in some kind of glaze, you'll do this and that. And where the strokes overlap each other, you get this kind of dark thing. I guess that's pretty good, because the more you build it up, I mean, at first it looks, you know, I don't like the way it looks. But the more you build it up, the better it gets. I think what I'm looking for is a brush that does something like that, but it has an interesting stamp to it. So this, I guess you call it a stamp, is, you know, that shape. Ooh, I really like that. It's got kind of a brush texture to it as well. And it's not, from what I can tell, it's not picking up anything from the background. All right, let's try this one. I'm gonna move it to my favorites. My favorites folder in here is like constantly changing. I'm constantly, you know, trying new things and, you know, seeing what works for each and every painting. You know, this is a thing that I always find, which is when you're working with a painting, especially, you know, well, I see this mainly in oil painting, because I've done it for a lot longer, is your painting will always have this kind of stage where it's kind of ugly, you know. Everything has a very ugly stage to it, where you're really kind of, you know, figuring out the way of the painting, what it needs, what it doesn't need. You know, maybe you're laying down basic colors, basic value, and you think, well, this is not looking very good. But, you know, from experience, I've found that if you keep working it, it'll come around. And so I am painting directly over the value mock-up, or not the value mock-up, but all the value work that I did. It's interesting that this guy, although it looks so blue, even the most blue part is probably more green. Yeah, it's more on the green side. That could be how I'm sampling things, but it's usually pretty close. But it's all relative. It's all relative to what's around it. And after I put all this down, and if it's too green, you know, no problem. I'll go over it again. Maybe it'll continue to look green until, you know, I begin to adjust it and add some interest to it with more and more layers. That's usually what happens. Yeah. So once I get some things established in here, you know, this idea of dark to light, I like the idea that the peak of this mountain is gonna kind of pierce this darker bluish green color. Let's see, something right there. One of the best ways I've found to blend within digital media is, you know, you have this ability to sample color like just instantly. So you paint, so you have two colors, like I have this yellow and this kind of green, and you paint one into the other lightly, and then it creates a combination of the two, and then you sample that out and you start with that again. You think, oh, I need a little bit more of that darker green, so you sample that, you bring it back down, and then you go back up with something with a little bit more yellow in it. You can get a nice value transition. Of course, the other way that you can do that is you get a brush like this, which basically does blending, and you just blend the whole thing together. It's a lot easier to work with like that. I don't want to blend this too much. I like the painterly texture of it. I want to end up with a good looking painting, but the purpose of this painting is to inform an oil painting that I'm going to do of this, mainly. So it doesn't have to be perfect. But all of the questions that I answer in this oil painting, or the more questions I can answer in this oil painting, the better it's going to be for me in the end. Because then I won't have to worry about it when I'm actually painting in oil. That's a little bit dark. And you know what? I want to go closer to this blue. We're still up in this green over here. I want to keep that same saturation level, so I'm just going to move that a little bit to blue. And the advanced color picker, so let's say that I picked this color here. In some instances, this can be a little bit better to work with for really small adjustments. So here's the hue that we're on. So the ring in the outside is the hue, and I want the same value, so it's right up in here. But I just want to change the overall hue. So the three main things that we're looking at is hue, value, and saturation, okay? So in this triangle, you can see where the darkest value is at the very top of the triangle, and the lightest value is at the bottom left, and the scale of saturation is here on the right. So all your most saturated colors are going to be right here. All of your most desaturated colors are going to be on this line, and then you got everything in between. But for this color here, this exact hue, this is where you have all of the all of your change in saturation and value. But I want this hue to go a bit closer to blue. It's the top square that I'm adjusting. I'm adjusting it very slowly. It's interesting, as I get closer to blue, it looks like it's getting lighter, but the value there is no different. Yeah, thinking about it that way, I like that color picker. It's really nice. Now for this lighter area, See, that's so green. It's like super green yellow. Let's do this. Let's bring it all the way back to blue. To this kind of bluish color. Yeah, that's closer to what I'm looking for. Down here, we'll do the same, but we won't go as far. Wow, that's crazy intense green. Don't like that at all. Sorry I'm zoomed so far out because I'm throwing down color and I want to be this far zoomed out so I can see how it affects the entire painting. Maybe I can zoom in just a little bit and still notice that so you can see what I'm doing. I'm also squinting. This is a thing that, you know, artists have been doing for millennia. I'm gonna take this really blue. Squinting. What you do is, I mean, the science of it's pretty interesting. You lower your eyelids so that the hairs on your eyelid obscure your vision. And what it does, it kind of softens everything and you can see value in things much better in that way. So squinting is actually really helpful in a lot of ways. The other thing you can do in digital media is blur everything. Put a big blur over the entirety of your image to see where it's at. Be interesting if, you know, because you have a quick button for flipping. It'd be great if they had a button to blur everything and to bring it back afterwards. So I'm really kind of fuzzing this out, softening the heck out of it. I'm thinking about texture. You know what's funny is we don't know exactly how this is going to look at all. So as I put all these colors down, all this idea down, I really don't know how it's going to look, really, until I put things around it. You know, I have to, you know, it's all relative. As soon as I put, you know, start on the mountain, I may realize that, oh, I need to redo the background sky because now, you know, how it's working with the mountain color is just not working as well. Ooh, why did I bring that all the way down? I'm so thankful for Control Z. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit too haphazard with this. I need to slow down a bit. Okay, I think that's good to get, you know, an idea of something back there. The problem now is that I have to recover, you know, where the drawing is. What I'm gonna do, so this is the sky, so it's the furthest thing back ever, like possible, within this painting. I'm gonna hide this guy, it's getting in the way. And I'm going to hide that one as well. Now, what I'm gonna try is using this color with that original brush that I picked out I'm going to try and recover my drawing a bit. Let's bump it all the way back up so maybe I can see it. No, I can't. That's fine. Let's bring the sky down, the value of the sky down real quick so that I can do that. So I can see these lines. And then I'm just going to put in that color that I pulled for the clouds. You know, every time I paint something, I'm constantly thinking about, you know, the texture, what the thing is. And I think you should do this as well. See, this is a cloud, so I'm not going to be going straight line, straight line, straight line, straight line. Clouds aren't straight lines. They're fluffy. They have fluffy lines. They have curves and swirls. They're just full of a lot of fun. So I'm just throwing down this color in the cloud format. I mean, I could use my cloud brush. Let's see what this does. I mean, that's kind of fun, but I want to establish some color in there first. And I'm just, you know, really scribbling this in. Because I don't know what I'm doing. No. I have some kind of idea of what I'm doing. And the good thing is I'm working this up on its own layer. I know this cloud is going back here and behind the mountain. Not really caring about edges. You know, this is all one color, which is not how clouds function. But I'm getting something down, okay? And now I can zoom out real quick. That's pretty ugly so far, but that's fine. And bring the sky back up. And now I can observe. So now I have something where I can get feedback. You put something down, you get feedback. Hey Thinker, good to see you again. I see you got a question. Hi Chris, question. Does digital coloring help in mixing color for your final oil painting? Oh, that's a really good question. You know, honestly, there's been a few paintings. I think I've done 5 or 6 paintings that started digitally and went into oil, so I don't have a huge amount of experience with it, but I would say yes, it does help. And in a way of establishing, you know, a general kind of coloration for within the painting. I wouldn't say that it informs my palette directly. So I would never come into a digital painting and pull out this color, right, and then look at it on the color picker, or the color wheel here and digitally, and then say, okay, that's the exact color that I need to match with an oil paint. I mean, it's not going to work. Oil paint is a completely different beast. It's reflected light. It's reflected light off of a real pigment. And this is backlit digital pixels. They're 2 different beasts altogether. In digital media, you're working with real light, and you can get these super crazy bright whites that you cannot achieve within oil painting. There's like this green here, you could not achieve that in oil painting. You could probably go buy some crazy green color that's made up that way with some kind of, you know, contemporary pigment that was made in a lab with oil painting to achieve that. But you have, you know, different constraints within it. Where it does inform is uh, the same as, you know, anything would inform. Where if I looked at this Bierstadt painting and I was just trying to figure out these colors and use them in my oil painting, I would make a guess as to what this color is. And I'm looking right here at this color of the sky in this painting. And I would say, well, you know, it's a blue, but it's desaturated and it's closer to green in some way. Actually, what I would say really helps, and where you can use digital to your advantage, and I do this all the time, where, and I'll do this for this painting, where I will have the image up in Krita or in Photoshop or whatever you want to use, and if I'm having trouble matching a color, I'll come over and I'll just sample it, and I'll see where it lands on the color wheel. And then that will help me get closer to it, but it will never be the same. It'll be like, oh, I thought this was more blue, but then as I sample, it's closer to green, and it's a lot less saturated than I have. And it will get you there. I mean, I've done all kinds of things where I'll take oil paint and I'll put it on a clear little piece of plastic, and I'll hold it up to the monitor and try and match it that way to try and get a matched color. But again, you're matching. I mean, you have to have this perfect light on, you know, a light in real life, like shining on the oil painting swatch that you're holding up to your monitor, and it has to be at the right angle, because different angles will change the color, right? And then you're matching it to a screen that is maybe not color corrected. You know, it depends on, I have two screens here and I get different colors from each screen. So there's all kinds of stuff into it. So it's going to help inform you of, you know, matching these colors. But in the end, it's going to be up to you as the artist to really do that experimentation. You know, just like I'm doing here. You know, you think, like, you know, maybe I reset this, and let's say I want to try and pick out this color here with this color of the, this distant kind of gray hill that's barely hit by the sun, okay? You would have to do the same thing in oil painting, which is, and let's do it in the advanced color picker. So I'm going to say that is, I know that's the local color is probably green grass, but that's not the color there. It's more of a brown. So browns are going to be fairly warm. And I can see that the color that this picked out is, you know, kind of there, a bit orange, more orange, maybe over here. Yeah, probably closer to that. Maybe it's a bit more saturated, so I'll move it over one more. And then, you know, let's test it, see how close I got. Oh, let me add a layer up here. Yeah, let me zoom in on that. So that's not too bad. I got pretty close. So, and then you think, then you say to yourself, okay, what's the difference? Well, my color is desaturated. It's not as saturated as these colors here. So first, let's just change one thing. Let's make it more saturated. So I'll just saturate it a bit. And then we'll try one more time. Now that's getting really close. But now I think there's a bit too much red in that. So let's move it closer to green, which would be closer to orange, you know, that way. Boy, that changed a lot. Look at the difference in that. Yeah, now I'm getting so close that I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty good. Let's remove all those, because they're getting in the way. And let's make it a little bit darker. The value got too light. There you go. I can't even see that I made a mark there. I actually made a mark, but it just blends in perfectly. So this is what you do in oil painting. You do the same thing. It's like, just test, test, test. Um, and the great thing about, digital media is you can throw it down. You can change the hue when it's on the screen. You have a lot of tools, things you can use to your advantage. Um, but when you're working in oil, it's going to be that experimentation, trying to experiment a little bit, get feedback, and then finding those colors and throwing them down. Thank you for that question. Boy, I tell you what, you ask a good question and I can talk forever about it. So right away, I'm putting down this cloud color and I really don't like it. I mean, it doesn't really have interest that I want. Let's try purple. Oh, wow. See, that is so intense that honestly, I would have to make everything else intense around it, or that cloud would just take over. So I'm actually going to remove I just painted on that reference layer, so I'll remove that. I'm actually going to remove that one painting that I have as a reference. This one. I think I painted on that layer too. I have this huge issue with painting on the wrong layer. And if I have the issue, I know that millions of other artists have the same issue because we're all universal. There you go, a bit darker. So the other thing is that I have more experience with figures and portraits than I do landscapes. So I am way out of my comfort zone on this thing, which is great. I mean, that's where learning happens. If you get too comfortable in your art, you get kind of stagnant. Always got to change things up. I mean, you can continue what you love to do, but always kind of changing things a little bit is great learning opportunities. I'm using that cloud brush. It's actually pretty nice. It's all about the texture. See, and this is where a lot of, I don't want to say cheating, it's not really cheating, but this is where I can hamstring myself, right? Because I have this special cloud brush that's doing some special textures within a digital painting, and then I'm going to get into the oil paint, oil painting of this, and then I'll have to figure out how to do this with a brush, like a real physical brush. That's going to be fun. That's where a lot of learning will happen, definitely. So the clouds this cloud here looks really flat. Because it doesn't follow form that it should. I'm going to pull out this color here from this little bright cloud down there at the bottom that's getting some sun on it. And then I'm going to pull out the light side of it. And this cloud here is going to have some lighter areas on it. So what I'm doing is, oof, boy, you press hard and that thing just pops in there. What I'm doing is establishing a light side and a dark side for this cloud here. Just picking out one cloud and saying, you know what, let's establish that. That's lighter than I want. Let's go a little bit darker with that. And let's introduce some purple here. A very grayed purple. I like the idea of having a hint of purple in this. Back to that lighter value. Boy, as I press a little bit harder on this, you can really see that color popping in. Wow, that's actually liking that a lot. Next question, could you have toned down the purple clouds with a glaze digitally? Yeah, that's very true. You know, like anything, I think there's probably like 50 ways to do something, right? Sorry, taking a drink there. Yeah, a glaze would have worked. You know, going over it and over it and over it. Let's try it. Let's see. Great idea. So let's bring that. Let's bring the purple cloud back. There we go. So there's actually, let me zoom in here. There's a really intense purple, and then there's a not so intense purple. And, you know, there's a million little pixels in here. So you have to figure out, you know, when I'm selecting something, I could hit these dark pixels, these light pixels, you know. So just kind of playing around with that area, I think is fine. Yeah, let's try that. Let's zoom out again. I'm gonna go with this cloud. And I'm actually gonna do it lighter. And I'm using this cloud brush. Pressing a little bit harder to get, you know, more of that purple color within there. Let's see. Yeah, I'm kind of liking that. Yeah, I'm liking that a lot. Thanks for challenging me on that, saying, "Hey, maybe you could have done it this way. You know, don't give up on it right away." Let's go back to this lighter color and see how that kind of blends within that purple. Let's push it behind the mountain. And then I want more of that purple now. Yeah, that's nice. And then the top of this cloud is going to be a bit darker. So I'm really going to challenge myself here. I'm going to go for that super intense purple. And it's going to come in front of this part of the mountain, the cloud. So let's make that cloud brush a little bit bigger. So if you're interested in this brush pack here, just do a Google search for, and I'll hover over it, do a Google search for GD Quest Krita brushes. And it's a brush pack that I think was made back in 2017. So old brush pack, but it's got some cool stuff. You can see what artwork they do. I think they do, you know, very cartoony digital games. But I like this brush. But be careful. Don't collect too many brushes and think that the brushes themselves are what going to, you know, make you a good artist. We've all done that, right? I can't tell you how many materials I have around here that was going to make me the best artist ever. And none of it actually happened. Now it's time to really pop in some of these lighter colors. So the one thing I am going to do, and here's what I've noticed for observation of color in reality. And this is what Monet had spent, you know, his entire life working on and really driving home in his work, is when you have a form. Let's say you have a cylinder. Hopefully you can see the cylinder I draw. So here's a cylinder with a really terrible ellipse. Let's do it again. Cylinder. There's the bottom. There's the top. And the light on this cylinder is passing over it like this. So it's coming down from this way. So what you'll get on the cylinder is, you know, kind of a light side here, and then a dark side on this side, and then halftone, and then your terminator, which is where things get a little bit darker right there, and then maybe some reflected light within that area. But if this is a colored cylinder, or if you have, for instance, light on it from a sun that's going down, so very orange, right on that terminator, right in here, the saturation of that color will get extreme. So you'll have this kind of general coloration of maybe an orange or a yellow or something like that. Then here it'll get like super bright red, and then it will pass into shadow and do everything. But right on that terminator is where you'll see this like increased saturation. And I love using that. So if we think about this cloud here, and I'm on this cloud brush, and I have, this color here, which is, let me get the exact color from the painting. So, and I'll pull it from this bright one. It's much brighter. So we have this really cool, or not cool, but really awesome, warm cloud color. That's where the sun's hitting the cloud, right? And then the form of the cloud is kind of, puffy. So it's going to turn. So on that turn, I'm going to increase the intensity. So I'm going to go a little bit more red. And then I'm going to take the color wheel closer to saturated. So this way. And then it's going to be right there. Let me make this a bit smaller. Make my brush a bit smaller. And it's a very subtle thing. It's not, when you observe it in real life, it's not this huge difference. It's very subtle, but it's there. And it's beautiful. Let me pull out some of the light again, do some blending. In the dark, do some blending, back and forth. And then I can take that purple down. I know. Let's go to the artistic color picker. The more I play with that artistic color picker, the less I'm liking it right now. I don't have the subtlety. Let's go closer to purple. Let's keep it, kind of desaturated, but a bit darker. So this is definitely the under shadow side with this cloud. Then I'm going to go back to that intense color. I'm going to make it a little bit more intense and more red. Maybe a little bit lighter as well. It's so subtle, but it's there. Our eyes can pick up so much of this. And then here, let's go a bit Yeah, that's perfect orange, but I want intensity and lightness in color. All right. Yeah. That may be good, may be terrible. I'm not sure. You know what I can do to help this, to give a better understanding of what's going on, is I could start... Oops. I could start my foreground layer. Yeah, I could do a few things. Let's do a couple things. So the next layer I'm gonna work on, and this is just gonna be for kind of figuring out some coloration. And this is going to use this brush. What I want to do is begin putting in the top of the mountain here. Let's get this brush. Oof. No, that's too much. Actually, I still really like this brush here. The subtlety in it's really nice. It just picks up a lot of colors behind it, like oil painting, so I'm going to stick with that one. I'm going to pick one of these guys. It's probably an easier way of doing that, but that's okay. So just establishing some idea of color there. Also the shadow side of this mountain, which is going to be a lot of rocks, so I'm going to pick this darker color. And so the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm having trouble understanding if the sky that I put in is working. And that's because everything around it is this relative gray, or this gray color. But everything is basically relative, right? And I because I have, you know, this value in the background, there's a lot of influence from the value, the gray in the background. So that's going to show in the painting as well right now. Eventually that will be all covered up. But as I add these elements, it's going to change what's around it. So for example, I know that I want this foreground element to be really dark. Something like this. It's very, you know, let's go with this intense blue. Where's my brush? Wow, it blends in so much. Oh, I can't even see my lines, and I'm painting on the wrong layer. I want a new layer. And I'm just gonna bring the opacity up on that one so that I can actually see the lines. See, this is gonna be really different. There's this dark blue next to the purple and the orange of the cloud we just added in. And I'll get, I'll make this a really big brush and just fill that in. I can change the saturation, the hue and all that a little bit later if I want. Let me desaturate it to a gray, make it a bit darker. be closer to what I want, but still in that kind of blue hue. Okay, so now that I have some things established around it, which I really dislike this color here. That's way too warm. I mean, it's way on that side. So I want to come all the way over here. Yeah, I want to go about right there. But it needs to be a lot darker. In my, well, maybe not. Let's see. So the shadow side of the mountain, I didn't really like that at all, what it was looking like. I mean, there's a tremendous subtlety in colors and things within Bierstadt's painting that I'll probably figure out later was probably the way to go. But it's so interesting that maybe a combination of both of those. Yeah, now that I put that purple down, it's just way too... It's too dark and too saturated. Getting something closer there. Okay. Oh man. I'm glad I'm working this up in a digital format because I don't want to be, when I'm working with oil paint, I don't want to be in this mode right now where I'm really struggling to figure out color and value and everything. So trying to answer all these questions within digital media is so much better. So what I'm doing now is I'm just really looking at it. I'm trying to determine what I like, what I don't like, what looks natural, what doesn't look natural. I wish I could put like a blurring layer over this whole thing. I wonder if that's possible. See, insert, filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Would that work? Would that blur anything? No, that just blurs the layer itself. Okay. I mean, I would have to flatten this whole thing and then blur it out. Because I think the detail is getting... It's confusing me. That's why now I need to zoom it way out to see what's going on there. Actually, what I can do is I can keep it large this way and then just look at my histogram or whatever it is over there, navigator. And that's actually better for me. I mean, I can see it small. You can see it on your screen, which is probably small. It's not too bad. I'm gonna try the Bierstadt coloration with this side of the mountain again. And it's interesting because there's this lighter color, like maybe a piece of snow that's in there. And really, he has clouds that are like this color. Is that the dark side of those clouds? My goodness, everything's so light. Now, right now, I'm just really throwing in some stuff. can't believe that is so light. I think part of the problem as an artist that we run into is, you know, when we're at this stage, and I know that I'm not liking this, but answering the question why am I not liking this? What is the problem with it? Have I not taken it far enough? Maybe I need to take it a lot farther. Maybe, you know, the better thing to do is just kind of, instead of getting into the details, the nitty gritty of everything, is to kind of, you know, pull back and do, you know, an overall like color comp for this thing. So go in here and just really throw down a bunch of colors and ideas. I mean, I'm not even worried about my layers right now. So yeah, I'm just kind of throwing down a bunch of stuff. And I'm continually looking over at my navigator over there. Let's get rid of my reference photos. Yeah, that's really not improving at all. At least in my mind. Maybe it does look good, but I just can't tell. I mean, I think that's part of the problem with this is, you know, I just really can't tell what's good and what's bad, what's going on. And this is, you know, one of those universal problems. Let's get like a really, you know, just dark thing going on in here. That's funny. My computer's dying with how big this brush is. So this kind of dark blue. And then I'll take this color, but I'll make it more intense for here. Oof, too much. You know, just really throwing in some color. Not really thinking about a lot of stuff right now. Now, how is my drawing underneath affecting everything? Quite a bit. I mean, it's giving everything structure. It's also graying everything out. try some colors from that painting. What I'm trying to do is just cover up all of this gray. Not completely. I'm just getting some idea of colors in here. Idea of coloration for everything. So I'll probably see a hint of that yellow down here. Hint of the sky maybe. Definitely some of that. These kind of blues. Sorry, not a lot of talking right now. Just getting intensely into kind of just filling in so that I can get an idea of where I need to go next. Well, I mean, now that I've gotten in this kind of really quick blah of color. Oh, good question, Thinker. Am I going to do live streams of your oil painting of this picture? Yes, I am, and I'm happy to say that yesterday I worked on it, and I have 2 Canon cameras set up with my easel so that I can start live streaming through them. I still have to test and see how you can pipe 2 cameras into one OBS. So I'm not sure how to do that yet, but I will figure that out. Because not only am I an artist, but I'm also a tech guy as well. I do web development and tech stuff for my job, which I enjoy. It's kind of crazy. You don't really see about that. But you know, here's what I'm going to say. Well, thank you for the question, number one. I'm going to merge all those layers, all that color. And this was, you know, my block in of, you know, color testing basically and figuring out. And as I look at the navigator over here now, I'm like, yeah, that's actually working. And I bet you if I continue working on it, that it will really turn out well. I just have to continue kind of messing with this. Oh yeah, glad. Thinker, you say fantastic. Looking forward to it. Yeah, me too. It's going to be a lot of learning. It's probably going to, you know, I have to deal with glare on the oil painting, all kinds of other cool stuff that I have to figure out. But I know that I'm going to learn like crazy, just like I am with doing this oil painting or this digital painting. Yeah, this is probably one of my first long-term digital paintings, and I'm just learning a ton from it. What I need to do is make notes as I'm learning. That's really important. Really write these things down so I can revisit them. But been on this stream for about an hour and 20 minutes. Now I need to go get my snack and then transition over into other things for my day. Thank you for joining me, Thinker. I appreciate you and with the questions. It's really awesome that you're here. And yeah, thanks for helping me out too. We'll learn this together. And yeah, so the questions I have for you is, do you do oil painting or do you do digital? Are you going to try both? What do you have going on? And I'm pouring tea while you have time to answer the message. You could be busy, and that's totally cool. Like listening and doing yard work or something. I think you were doing yard work yesterday. Thanks for all the comments. You know, that's the interesting thing about streaming is you can ask a question and then I can ask a question, and it takes a long time to go back and forth. It's really different from how we talk normally. I know when you're talking to someone, you know, face to face, boy, if you pause for even a half a second, you know, it's like an invitation for them to talk next. So it's kind of nice to have slower communication in some way. I wish that the chat had some... Oh, there you are. Like you, I'm learning digital and have done oil painting for the last 5 years. Oh, fantastic. Awesome. Well, I'm going to end the stream, but throw a comment on one of my videos or this video after it's up when you get a chance of your website or a place where we can see your work. That would be kind of cool if you want to. I know a lot of people are like, I don't really want to share my work, but yes, please do. Share your work. I would like to see it. Maybe give you some feedback if you want, or whatever. Anyway, that's going to be the end for me, and thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful week, or wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you tomorrow.